A prayer for those trapped in financial anxiety. Like and subscribe so you never miss a message of hope and strength when life tries to crush your spirit. If your heart is heavy, if the bills are piling up, if the numbers in your bank account feel like a cruel joke, this is for you. The weight we don't talk about money is one of those silent storms. It doesn't just sit in your wallet, it sits in your chest. It wakes you up at 2 a.m. with a tight knot in your stomach. It makes you stare at the ceiling, running numbers in your head like a broken calculator. You smile at friends, nod at co-workers, and pretend everything is fine. But deep down, you're screaming, "I can't do this anymore." Financial anxiety doesn't just come from not having enough money. Sometimes it's from losing control over the future. That constant "what if" that plays like background music in your mind. What if I can't pay rent next month? What if my kids need something I can't afford? What if I'm one emergency away from losing it all? And in that mental pressure cooker, joy feels like a luxury. Peace feels like a stranger. Life starts to feel like an endless chase. But you are running on a treadmill that doesn't stop. Why this story matters to you. If you're here reading these words, I want you to understand something. Your worth is not tied to your wallet. Your value as a human being is not measured in dollars, digits, or debt. Yes, the numbers matter for living. Bills need to be paid. Groceries need to be bought. But your soul needs something even more urgent. Hope, perspective, strength to keep moving even when the road is steep. And that's what this story and this prayer is about. The man at the bus stop. 2 years ago, I met a man at a bus stop on a rainy Tuesday. His name was Paul. His coat was too thin for the weather, his shoes worn out. He was holding a small paper bag that I later found out had just a sandwich and a bottle of water inside. We started talking. I assumed, wrongly, that he was homeless. But he told me something that stopped me in my tracks. "I have a job," he said. 2, actually. But I'm behind on rent. My wife's been sick and the hospital bills. He trailed off, his voice breaking. "I work hard every day, but I feel like I'm drowning." He wasn't lazy. He wasn't irresponsible. He wasn't bad with money. He was just caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, with life throwing curveballs faster than he could catch. What struck me most wasn't his situation. It was his mindset. "I wake up every morning," Paul said, "and I thank God for the chance to try again, because one day, one of these mornings, it's going to be the day things change." That sentence has stayed with me ever since. Lesson 1. Your mindset is your anchor. When you're trapped in financial anxiety, the first thing that collapses is usually your sense of control. You start feeling powerless. But here is the truth. The storm doesn't decide who you are. Your anchor does. Your anchor is your mindset. You can't always control your income, your bills, or the economy, but you can control the voice inside your head. Paul wasn't ignoring his reality. He wasn't pretending his debt didn't exist, but he was refusing to let despair become his identity. He made a choice every morning to wake up with hope, and that choice gave him the mental strength to keep moving. Practical step for you today. Write down one thing you still have, despite your situation. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's a skill. Maybe it's someone who loves you. Keep that list where you can see it. Let it remind you that you're not starting from zero. Lesson 2. Small wins build big change. Financial anxiety often comes from the feeling that the gap between where you are and where you want to be is too wide. You can't cross it in one leap, so you feel stuck. But here's the secret. You don't need a leap. You need steps. Tiny, deliberate, daily steps. When Paul finally caught up on rent after 6 long months, he didn't do it with one massive paycheck. He did it by cutting unnecessary subscriptions, selling old items he didn't use, taking 2 extra shifts a week when possible, meal prepping to avoid takeout. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't Instagram-worthy, but it worked. Practical step for you today. Find one unnecessary expense to cut this week. Just one. Then, instead of letting that money vanish, put it toward your most urgent need. The action, not the amount, is what begins to restore your sense of control. Lesson 3. Your joy is non-negotiable. Here's the trap. When money is tight, we often feel guilty for enjoying life. We think, how can I go out for coffee when I'm in debt? Or, how can I relax when my bills aren't paid? But stripping all joy from your life is like trying to run a marathon without water. You burn out faster. You start resenting life. You lose the motivation that could have helped you keep going. Paul, even in his hardest months, kept one non-negotiable. Every Sunday he'd walk in the park with his wife. They didn't spend money, they didn't buy anything. But that 1 hour reminded them that life wasn't only about survival. It was about connection, laughter, and fresh air. Practical step for you today. Pick one free joy activity this week. Read a book at the park. Listen to your favorite music with no distractions. Watch the sunset. Joy is fuel, and you need it. The prayer for financial peace. Now, if your chest is tight, if your mind is racing, if you feel like you're carrying the weight of 100 unpaid bills, I invite you to pause. Close your eyes, breathe, and let these words sink in. Lord, I am tired. My hands are working, my mind is running, but my heart is weary. I don't ask for riches, but I ask for enough. Enough to breathe without fear, enough to provide with dignity, enough to rest without guilt. Teach me to see beyond the numbers, to value what can't be bought, to trust that better days are coming. Give me wisdom for my decisions, courage for my actions, and peace in my soul, even before the storm passes. Amen. Why you can't give up now. Every single financial turnaround story starts with the same sentence. I kept going. There are people today living debt-free, owning homes, traveling the world, and just a few years ago, they were where you are now. Some were deeper in the hole than you might be today, but they refused to stop showing up. You don't need to figure out everything this week. You just need to make one decision. I will not give up. Because here's the truth. Your breakthrough doesn't happen when all your problems vanish. It happens when you become stronger than the problems. A challenge for you. If you've read this far, I want to give you a challenge for the next 7 days. Each morning, write down one thing you're grateful for. Each day, take one small action to improve your finances, even if it is just 5 saved or 10 minutes learning a new skill. Each evening, do one thing that brings you joy, no matter how small. It won't solve everything instantly, but it will give you momentum. And momentum, once started, is very hard to stop. If this message spoke to you, share it with someone who needs it. You never know whose life you might touch. And remember, your story is still being written. The chapter you're in right now is not the ending. Better days are on the way.